Do you know a vast majority of self-taught developers never land an IT job? In this video, I'm going to explore the top 3 reasons for these failures and some tips on how you can avoid those. So let's jump right in. The number one reason most self-taught developers never land an IT job is the lack of clear guidance and mentorship. Now you might think, doesn't it defy the whole point of being self-taught if you have a mentor? I think even if you meet a mentor on a monthly basis or even a quarterly basis, that is still much more beneficial than having no mentor at all. But you'll still be self-taught because that guide or that mentor is not teaching you some subject on a day-to-day basis. You'll be learning on your own. It's just that you'll have a mentor who could provide a high-level strategic guidance when you get stuck. When I was preparing for my interview for Meta, since it was a very difficult interview, I did not had a lot of guidance on how to start. So I started exploring some online resources like LeetCode, but still it was very confusing and very difficult to navigate. And I didn't know anyone who was working at a FANG company, but I knew a friend's friend who was working at Google. So I asked my friend to introduce me to him, and he was kind enough to help me guide through this journey of preparation. He provided me some high-level guidance on what are some resources I should be consulting, what are some books I should be reading. And whenever I would get stuck, I would call him and ask where I'm getting stuck, and he would help me, and sometimes even telling me that I can skip that part because it doesn't get asked in the interviews as often. He also helped me with the mock interviews, and when I actually gave the interviews at different companies, after the interview I would call him and get some feedback on how well I did in the interview. And when I actually started getting some offers, he also helped me negotiate a better offer with the companies. So I think in about 1 year where I was consulting with him to get this job, maybe spent about 10 to 15 hours on call with him and many, like hundreds of messages. But I don't think I could have made this without his guidance and support. So the problem with learning these complex fields is that the path to learning is not very linear. No one can tell you that this is a 10-step process and you can just go through it in a linear way and become an expert in it. It is much more nuanced, and it depends on your prior knowledge, your skill set. Having a mentor who could create a custom roadmap for you, and whenever you get stuck, guide you in the right direction is really crucial. And also sometimes when you're stuck and you speak with them, it just has such a therapeutic impact on you and builds a lot of confidence. The analogy I would give is that working with a mentor and without is equivalent of finding a ready-made diet plan on the internet and following it versus hiring a nutritionist and working with them on a month-to-month basis to improve your diet. The chances of your success with working with nutritionists is many times higher than just getting a canned meal plan from the internet, especially if you're not working in the industry yourself. The first way to start would be to look around and see if you can get some referral to an expert who's working in the same industry you want to get into. The second approach I would advise is that go on LinkedIn, find some person who has a good degree of success in whatever career you want to work in, and just cold outreach them, asking, hey, can I just get some guidance from you? I think if you ask in the polite and the right way, you'll get much more positive responses than you expect. And if none of these approaches work, then there are many websites like Peak Mentors who connect you with experts in the fields, and you have to pay some amount on an hourly basis. And if spending 20 hours with an expert, even if you pay like $200 per hour, with an expense of $4,000, if you get a raise of $40,000, that's a very good deal. The second biggest reason for failure for most self-taught developers is the lack of support. Since the field of IT is so complex, and as you're learning into it, you run into many issues on a day-to-day basis. So you need some level of support and guidance where you can ask those questions and get some help. And besides those specific questions, sometimes you just feel so much lost and you have no idea where you're going and if you're moving in the right direction. And at that stage, connecting with some peers who are also marching in the same direction and seeing what kind of progress they are making, what are mistakes they are making, that kind of feedback is really helpful. Now, if you have acted on that step number 1 and already have got a mentor who has developed a custom roadmap for you, the second step is that you should surround yourself with some like-minded people. Now, I'm an introvert myself, and I'm just allergic to anything related to networking and small talk. But the good thing about the world we are currently living in is that there are just so many online groups and forums which you can join, which are specifically built for the topics you care about. And you can get enormous kind of guidance from them absolutely for free. About this, I want to share another personal story with you. Back in 2010, I was preparing for a very competitive exam back in Pakistan. And since I didn't know anyone else who was preparing for that exam, I joined an online forum where people would ask questions about that competitive exam. And after about 6 months, since I had read and learned a lot in the past 6 months going through all the posts, for any new post, I would know what the answer should be and I would start posting the answer. Before I know it, I became a very active member on that platform, and I also developed a good kind of camaraderie with other people who were also active in the same platform. And that kind of guidance and support and the sense of being surrounded by the like-minded people, it really helped me build that virtual environment, which I very desperately needed. So my suggestion to you would be that if you are becoming a self-taught developer, A, get a good mentor. B, try to join some good online community. There are countless Facebook groups, most of them are free, or any other online community you might find appropriate, and try to engage with that community. Now, the third most important reason for failure for these self-taught developers is that they do not have a daily routine of actually doing the work. Now, this is perhaps the most critical component, because nothing works if you actually don't do the work. Even if you get the best teacher in the world and have joined the most vibrant online community out there and start posting on that on a daily basis, if you do not spend a couple of hours actually trying to learn the stuff you're trying to learn, then all that is useless. And for that, you have to put in some real focused work, which is hard, and that is why most people don't do it. One tip I would give is that try to have a 2 to 4 hour window of dedicated focused time, ideally on a daily basis, where you just focus completely on learning with no distractions at all. Try to put in a timer, ideally a manual timer. Put in the earbuds and just focus on learning whatever you're trying to learn. And to make it a consistent habit, try to attach this habit of focused learning, some things you already do on a day-to-day basis. For example, you wake up every day, so try to put your focused learning window right after when you wake up. Or if you commute back from work on most weekdays, then try to have that daily session of learning right when you get back home. The benefit of attaching your learning time with something you already do on a day-to-day basis is that that acts as a trigger, so that when you do that, for example, when you wake up in the morning, that reminds you that this is the time for you to put in your learning hours. And that makes the probability of sticking with that habit in a long term much more high. Now, to sum it up, if you are trying to become a self-taught developer, you should try to get a very good mentor. You should try to surround yourself with some online community and develop a habit of a focused learning routine. Now, if you like this, I've created a separate video where I've talked about how you can consistently stick with that habit for a long period of time using an ancient technique called Lucy Aspect. The link to that video is right here. Please check it out. I hope you like it.